Hello everyone! It's been a while. About 2 months actually since last time I've uploaded anything. Just happy to be back. I'm happy to be able to film some more videos for you all and to be able to do more builds. And this build today is part 3 of the resin conversion kit process. It's the Barbatos Lupus Rex that I started a while ago and never got around to actually finishing. But now we're gonna get back to this guy right here, and I'm going to take you and I'm going to put you up there. But first I gotta move all that, and then you can look down at my hands while I work. Yay! So here I am inside my little workstation, and the first thing I'm gonna do is take this kit apart. All these parts are gonna go into their corresponding bins here, and then from there we're gonna pull each part out. And then from there I'm gonna pull out just one section. So let's say the right arm is what we're gonna focus on first. Then the left arm, put it in little piles over here, and you'll see basically how I go. So first things first, let's take this apart. So now that I have my components pretty much disassembled, first thing I'm going to do now is choose which section I want to work with. And right now I'm thinking I want to work with the arms, because the arms, there doesn't seem to be a whole ton of spots there that I have to do a lot with. So what I will do is pull out my 2 arms, take all these parts out. So here's my little bin for right arm, here's my little bin for left arm, and I'm pretty much just going to keep everything in a nice organized little pile over here. Now obviously I know I'm not going to be using this shoulder piece here, either of these, so I'm going to toss these back in, double check I didn't leave anything in there, which I did. Toss those back in, and anything I'm not going to use is going right back into the bin over here. So as you can see here with the hands, it should pretty much, and it does, just kind of snap right in there. Now of course I'm going to have to start prepping all these pieces here and taking this off, but we'll do that in a bit. And then I have this guy right here, so I pop these together here, which I can't test fit because I have all this flashing to take care of and get rid of that. But I'm just right now seeing how everything is supposed to work. Once I see how things loosely fit, then it's time for me to break out the Dremel and start going to town, getting rid of all of this flashing, which when I say flashing, I mean these pieces here, you know, the extra bits of resin that needs to be taken off. Now you have to be careful with some of it because as you'll see over inside spots like this, it's very, very fragile. So using a rotary tool, I would say, is probably the worst idea you can do here. For these types of things, you can even go as far as using your nippers that you normally use, and you can start to kind of carefully cut parts out, cut some of this flashing off, and then you follow up with some very fine files to start taking off the excess bit. If you can't see, one thing that I like to do, even though I don't really necessarily have eye issues, but it does make my life easier to see things, are these jeweler's magnifying glasses. So I pop these guys on. It's like looking under a heavy magnifying glass, and it pretty much makes my life a lot easier when it comes to me getting these tiny minute details down. So really all I'm going to start doing here is cutting these parts off little by little and start getting this down to a position where I am happy with. Now you don't want to start cutting too thick of parts with these things because you could also break the actual piece itself and not just the piece of flash you're trying to get rid of. I've done this enough though to know where I can use these and where it's not a good idea at all to use them. So now if I take this hand here, this needs to be sanded down. And I'm only using medium speed. I'm not using anything that's a high speed because I don't want to cut through too much and then I'm in a position where I have to build up what I over sanded. So like anything, I want to follow the lines here. And I don't want to cut completely through, so you see if I left some of that flashing through right there, I don't want to use the sander to go completely through that because then I'm going to have deeper gouges in the part that I want to keep, and then that means I have to fill that. So what I could do from here is take my sanding files and start slowly going to town on these, wearing them down, so this way it makes life a lot easier. Or I could even go the route of taking a big chance, which I wouldn't suggest everybody does, I've done it a million times, and thankfully I don't really screw it up much anymore. But I can go ahead and use my knife here to pretty much just carve away little by little, and then what I'll do is finish it off with a file just to make sure everything is as smooth and uniform and shaped properly as I want it to be. Another thing to keep in mind is I want to have a relatively stiff, firm file here because I'm doing a straight sand. If I use something that's too flexible, like say this sanding pad here, it's not going to give me a level surface. It's going to be all over because this is trying to conform to an abnormal shape. And I got to put my fan on because I am absolutely boiling. So sorry for the extra noise as I'm doing this. So now in this instance here, I have my part that I can test fit without worrying about the flashing, holding it back, and that looks to me like it's a perfect fit. I'll just take it now, test it on the hand. Now I've got a part here that's been sanded just what I need it to be, and it fits perfectly. So from here, I can pretty much move on to the next one and do that throughout the entire kit. That's basically the process. It's going along, test fitting. Where things don't fit, you obviously have to get rid of the flashing, doing it carefully, and as I said before, a pair of magnifying glasses definitely help greatly so you're not straining your eyes seeing the more fine pieces you have to get to. So right now I am going to continue on with this kit, test fitting everything, getting rid of the initial flashing, and going from there. I have already cleaned all these parts. I've already sanded and prepped them. These parts basically just fit on or are glued on to the existing pieces of the kit that you're converting. So if you take, for instance, when they sculpted this piece here, they did it on top of the Barbatos Lupus Rex leg. How I know that is because if you see inside here, there's the indentation, or I should say there's the male figure to the female figure of this. It kind of just fits right in like so. In order to adhere this, you use basically just good old-fashioned super glue. Works wonders for this. If you want to go crazy with yourself, you can get a two-part epoxy like from JV Weld or any of those other companies, or hobby welding stuff. It all works, but I prefer to use super glue. Gorilla Glue gel works excellent, as does Loctite gel, and just regular old brand super glue. It works wonderfully in being able to adhere all these parts together. But I'm not going to put it together just yet. Here I have a couple of options, and you have a couple of options too. If you want to get rid of any seams and gaps and you want this to kind of fade in to this entire part, so here we won't even have that point anymore, but we can get it to blend in, you can use two-part epoxy putty and you could start to sculpt it on there, smooth everything out, and when it's all said and done, you can sand it all in and this will all be one solid piece. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with myself like that because that's honestly what I do not have time to do right now. But I wanted to be able to do this build to accentuate this resin conversion kit. So I'm going to leave all the nice little separations and lines on here just as it would come from the package, minus a couple of obvious little details in sanding and fitting. So what I'm going to do now is go into my paint drawer and I'm going to figure out on the spot what colors I'm going to paint this thing. So I've decided to do this kit in some dark colors. So I'm going to use semi-gloss black, some gunmetal, let's see, some metallic gray, NATO black, some titanium gold. And now what I'm going to start doing is looking over the diagram for a little bit, brainstorming and seeing what pieces are going to be what color. And this is the part that's really subjective, and it's up to you as the builder to figure out what you want it to look like ultimately in the end. I mean, there's no real right or wrong way to do this. I did mention an entire thing about accent colors, and you don't want those to dominate the build. Check that in the video below also, finding inspiration for your colors, for your build. So what I'm going to do now is take all these parts out, and I'm going to put them on these guys right here. These are little cat scratcher things I picked up at Walmart a while ago. And then my paint stick. I'm going to start taking all these parts and I'm going to segment them. Notice how I put left arm, right arm, or leg here, and then over here I put front left. That just depends on all the kit. So what I'm going to do is put all my right arm pieces here, or I should say my left arm pieces here, and my right arm pieces here, and I have different ones that are all for these different things. So I'm going to go and sort through all that. now, but I'm also gonna do a time jump because it's gonna take forever for me to do this. Unfortunately, during this time in the build, my phone, my old Galaxy Note 8 that gave you just about all of these videos for the most part on YouTube, ended up giving me too many troubles. It would start and stop recording at random, and it gave me really no usable footage, sadly. So what I have to do now is show you a couple of pictures from Instagram. As you can see, I did more of a gradient type of effect on some of the tips to make them look really sharp, because this was a pretty edgy type of resin conversion kit, you know, with the claws and then all the sharp points on the shoulder pieces, the knees, the feet, everything else like that. And I really wanted to accentuate that, and ended up making this look like a night-inspired, really dark type of finish, and I called it the Night Wolf. And so as you can see, I left out the gold and the red and other colors like that. It just kind of happened organically. And as you're doing a build, unless you plan it ahead of time and don't do it spontaneously, things do change, and it may not look like you thought it initially would look like. But the end result, hopefully, is something that you're satisfied with. Because really, that's all that counts. As long as you're satisfied with it, it's your build. Now, I don't have just pictures. I don't have this kit anymore because it's already shipped off to its owner. But I do have some B-roll footage that I did film, and I think it's about time to take a look at this kit better close up in video right. So as we come to the end of this video, the first in quite a while, I do want to say thank you very much for everybody that has joined me in subscribing through all this time, where there has been a little bit of a content drought. But I also want to thank all of you who have stayed through the entire time too. That means a lot to me, and growing this channel is going to help me a lot more in being able to produce more videos for you down the road. And there is something else I'm going to start doing. For all of you who have subscribed here on YouTube, you will see pictures of finished builds before I post them on Instagram. So that's just a little bit extra bit of incentive to kind of jump in here. If there's any other kind of videos that you want to see, please comment below, let me know. And if you like what you saw, please hit that like button. Subscribe, it helps me out greatly, and share these videos as that helps me expand this channel too. With that, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and bye!